Going on YouTube world, Vincenzo, Dave, IRP 175. Madness of March dipped into the IRP tonight, so uh, Broncos Dart should be here at some point in time um, for reasons, like usual.
Just friggin' reasons all the
Yeah,
time.
it's
Just
it's
friggin'
reasons.
reasons.
Um, Tonight we'll talk what our favorite design is of a 1998-99 card and what it would be like if it was done today. More madness of March of football signings, transactions, just utter nonsense being littered about. Um, Retirements. I'm trying to remember the placeholder because when I put it up, it's like, okay, those are the big names, and then it's like Mike Williams signed today to the Jets, and I know there's something else. No, Beckham's not going to be back with the Ravens, which I didn't figure, especially for that type of price tag, that 15 mil that he had this year. Brackets came out for basketball. Iowa, the women getting screwed pretty much in the group of death. Um, when LSU is the number 3 seed in your bracket, it's like, really no. Again, I don't know how many people have watched any women's basketball this year, but that was your national title team from last year, and we lost a few people, but nothing again categorically to kill them. Obviously, if they're a 3 seed. Um, the quote unquote tournament did get going, I think about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then I know they don't like to call them the play-in games, but Wagner and Howard started off, and I think it was like a number 10, which again usually it's been the 11 seed that they have the quote unquote play-in. This year it's the 10. Watching NIT right now, opening round. Unreal that I love the matchup, Boston College and Providence, so it's basically Boston. Um, Boston and Rhode Island. So right next to each other, that's what they usually try to do, or you usually go the opposite end of the spectrum. And I think like Princeton and UNLV, I think they play tomorrow, but matchups that you wouldn't have. So geographically, yes, geographically, no. So um, as you can see from the placeholder too, Hope and Duke does what they usually do and shits the bed. And I'm not a Duke fan. That's not even I won't say anything to do with me being like a Carolina fan back in the day more so. But I just don't like him. Krzyzewski I didn't mind as a coach, but just all their players, it always reeked of uh, the privileged like private school boys. So that was a long while ago. And we're still right around the time I think we were supposed to get on, but same with Paul and same with Tyrone. Eric. Eric fused around and he didn't have his chocolate sticks shoved in his mouth would be able to give us the correct pronunciation. But yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on.
Yeah.
No matter where you look.
Yep. Independent. What the heck is it? Lamar Hunt. He was for football, right?
I want to say Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. So Lamar Hunt Independent Cup, Open Cup, whatever it's called for soccer, starts this week. So it used to be MLS, USL, and NISA, NPSL. All the teams would play each other from now till September, October. And just all these teams, hundreds of teams, just till there was finally one winner at the end. And it started tonight. So I follow the NISA, the tier 3 guys, professional, because that's wrong side. Michigan Stars Football Club, pro soccer team. They are on their way tomorrow to Pittsburgh to play Steel City FC. And you can watch that on ussoccer.com Thursday night, I believe, around 7 o'clock. But that's my little. Not that I get paid anything because I'm but a humble volunteer, but I do it for the boys. And that used to be C's club. She's at a different club, but the boys are still her boys. And she's still the unofficial mascot. Even though I think we're getting a mascot, she's fan. She's like fan one. Like if you had to go to every home game and even some road games, there's this little blonde haired girl and she's there leading the charge. She lives and dies with that club, the pro team, and every year it's a roller coaster because we lose guys come in, guys leave, guys sign with other clubs, and it's almost a whole new set of boys this year, and some familiar returning faces, but not many. So we got 2 keepers, Brandon and Tatenda Makruva. And we got Poppy, aka Gigi, aka Andreas. He's got a lot of nicknames. He's from Brazil. He's a good kid. He's been there the longest since the first year they came into the league. And then Nick, who's like 18, and he's a striker. And who else is back? Nick or Niels Lalouche. It's just like, like Nuke Lalouche from, what is it, Bull Durham, the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
So I called him Nuke for a while, and he had no idea because he's from France. He has no idea what I'm talking about. So it's hysterical. I'm trying to think. Is that everybody? Oh, a guy from 2022 championship team. He broke his leg last year. He came back. Elias McLeod. I nicknamed him Cloudy with the chance of goals from the movie Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs. He's back, 1 year removed. Ennis is still our coach. George is still our owner. Chris is the COO now, not just only the GM. I'm director of game day operations, and the better half is director of marketing and something else. Except we don't get paid. We're just there for the love of the beautiful game, as they say. And the rest of the guys are all new. So Artie was attached to some of the guys, a great group of guys, a lot of heart, young kids. And we already had a couple of them. One guy got trapped down on vacation and he missed so much time. And then another guy, it's hard. This is the first time we've been through it since day one, like preseason. Never been through this rigmarole before. So it's like a roller coaster. You see these guys come in and you're like, that dude and C are going to get along. And then next thing you know, he's not there anymore. Because you figure we had 60 guys try out. So I got an email address, I think, Joe, but I don't know if it works because I haven't used it. I get free stuff. I got this hat. Howie's athletic tape established in 2015. I got a bunch of this stuff from last year. We're now with Adidas. So I got yelled at because I was wearing even my pants. Say Michigan Stars. So my underwear don't, but
Yet.
I'll take a couple pairs in and put the stamp on them. Because the better half and I were there till almost 10 last night putting stuff on the NISA logo on sleeves and packing bags and stuff. I do have my bag somewhere. Let me see. Oh, watch Galaxy.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, nice weather, like mid 40s at least. And now we're back to the upper 20s today for a high. And it's just like, oh, some
So
blowing. There you go. There's an Adidas bag.
my travel bag. So if I go on the road or for home games, I can keep all my crap in here. Got room for a soccer ball. I like the Adidas ones. The Nike ones, like C has for her club, are a little rough, but Adidas bags are pretty good. So we packed all those with home and away kits for everybody, the goalies, the field players, socks, shorts, the kits. They have their warm-ups. I'll wear the warm-ups one night because I got a set. But it's got to be warmer because they're not conducive to this weather. Let me put it to you that way. Yeah, and I was taking inventory last night of all the when you got to inventory socks, somebody's got to do it, and Vinny's that guy. So it's a hobby. It's a passion. I do it to help Chris out, the GM, help the boys. It's a labor of love, as they say. And when I'm sitting there watching like tier 3 soccer, when you could be watching MLS or Premier League, I know I know some of the Premier League players in the Bundesliga and Serie A and UEFA and all that stuff. But like if you ask me about tier 3 guys on Savannah Clovers that no one's ever heard of, I know 2 guys on that team. Personally, know 2 guys on that team because they used to play for us. And it's like our coach Remy went to he started his own UPSL team or NPSL team, minor league. And we scrimmaged him a couple weeks ago, and he said something poignant. He goes, "Once you're a star, you're always a star. We're a family." And to me, that's when you really get into it. You know, like I said, it's going to be YouTubers and soccer players at C's graduation party from high school. So it's going to be a bunch of YouTube guys, the family, and soccer players. It's just that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like closest family, soccer players. I've said this like 3 times, so you get the drift. But yeah, it's going to be like a big old reunion. And it looks like the Red Wings just scored. So
I know it's the weird thing about when you start telling people, like, hey, what if you ask, or they ask, would you watch or did you see such and such in the game last night? Like, no, I was watching like high school Iowa State championship girls basketball. And, like,
what? Why?
turn around
Because
the way they don't even say that. They're like, huh. It's like, well, it was on YouTube. It was free. again, you always want to see competition wise. How does it stack up? What do you see as a like a viewer of the game and somebody that knows the game? Like down there, it was grinded out. Literally, if you scored 50 points, you're pretty much guaranteed the win. Minnesota, that's not the same. Minnesota, you scoring 70, 75-ish, and then you're winning the game. So, but it it's stuff that you just find enjoyment in. And I'm up in northeastern Minnesota, Mario. Um, no, Tyrone. Several degrees before pants weather. So we will get to Aaron.
Former Pitt alumni as myself. I believe that's yeah. He went to Pitt, right?
Yep.
That's what I thought. He was after my time, way after my time. I was right before. Who was it? Darrell Revis.
You were before like Fitzgerald, or were you there?
I was leaving as Fitz was coming in. I think Fitz got there in 2002, and I was already out of there.
So yeah, it was. I know. I tried to watch hockey the other night. What the hell was it? I don't even remember the game that was on. I know it was the Oilers, but I don't even remember who they were playing. That's how in tune to paying attention to like the things you think I would pay attention to. It's so I'm trying to think. No, that would have been 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to go through my mind like anything Ely sport wise. I don't think anything's happened.
She just had a tournament this past weekend, so they won 5-0. So she had a clean sheet, didn't handle the ball but 2 or 3 times. She had 2 saves and 1 handle. Next game they won 2-1. Went to the semis. They were down 3-2, 3-1. And they came back with 10 seconds left and they tied it. They went to PK shootout. They won 5-4 in the PK shootout. And she dove. If she was 6 foot tall like me, she'd have stopped probably those 4 because she dove right direction every time. I'm like, how do you know where they're going? She goes, I could just tell. I watched their shoulders, I watched their feet, and I know where they're going. And she didn't guess. She knew right every time. So I was pretty proud of her. Then they went to the finals. They shot through traffic, and she threw up her hands because she had no idea where the ball was, and we lost 1-0. So, and she was sick the whole time. She had the flu, so she was battling that, and she's starting to get better today. Yesterday she was dragging. This morning she was dragging, but tonight she's less than dragging. Stephen.
It's the eyes. Always watch the eyes.
Maybe that's what she's watching. She goes, I just can tell.
It's not always a given, but a lot of people. The whole objective is when you're shooting on goal, is to not technically look at the goal. Keep your head down. So then they can't see what you're doing. It was usually always the eyes, because it's not uncommon for the eyes to point to where they're usually going, and
That makes
it
sense.
it never fails that people don't realize that you do that subconsciously.
I was not a goalie for soccer or keeper, as they call them. So I do not have this experience like Mr. Trent does. So we'll just go from there.
And that's the game, Paul. It was Colorado. I remember the beginning. There was a national anthem for us and national anthem for Canada up at Rexall Place or whatever the hell it's called. So yeah, it's sports aplenty. This is another one of those times a year when there's literally no shortage of things to watch.
No.
They're even and that I thought so, Paul. That's when I said it, I'm like, that might be the old one. But even watch golf this weekend. Tristan and I went to Duluth on Sunday. We're gonna check out like some old abandoned train tunnel that was even more precarious than the other one that we went to last summer, 2 summers ago. 2 summers ago. It was just that wind down by Lake Superior, bitter, 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 bitter cold, and like a fall time, like in October, early November, gales in November, just frigid. Um, so we went. Trying to figure where we went to first. My brain is just not registering. I think we went. Well, no, we would have had to go to the museum. We went to Superior, and there's like the Richard Bong museum is there. And for those of you who don't know who he is, which I'm guessing everybody and anyone that has ever watched this, maybe Dopey, W Grim 88, being he's in Barnum, which isn't too far. He might have an idea, but there again, probably not. He was a World War II fighter pilot with 40 takedowns or 40 kills or whatever you want to call it, because I don't know if I confirmed kills, but he shot down 40 planes in World War II and a P-38 made by like Lockheed Martin back in the day. And a nice setup. And I don't mean that in the usual way we mean it. It was a nice flowing museum with it wasn't just about World War II, which again, if any of you actually know, that's something I will always be a sponge for knowledge. Is that there's so many theaters of war, the time frame, what led up to it, the ending of it, um, so much going on during that war, all over the world, literally a world war. So went there. We spent I think probably close to 2 hours in there. I think I took about 160 photos. I've got 2 videos I'm going to splice together with some like the medals, and then like on the German Air Force, their their jackets or their uniforms, a lot of patches. This one guy that was over there, I think for Iraq, he was a Superior guy, and it's Adam Sheeta. he had a huge collection of stuff that he had got over there, and he came back in like '07, but then within a week he got murdered. So his collection's there of all this stuff, which again, I could sit there and just like look at it all day because again, it's stuff that you think who could have possibly worn it, all this other stuff. But Bong, they have all his, like I said, they had the plane, they had a couple engines. One was obviously submerged in some salt water. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, if you're military, I don't believe so. I'm going to say no. I don't 100% know what the OODA loop pilot, but I don't believe so. I think that he was just straight. I'm trying to remember now because I know there's a lot of information that came in, obviously, over the weekend. Just, I think Trista put it up on her Facebook, and one of her was a coworker had mentioned something about it too, and like these guys that went over there were just in like awful type conditions. They didn't have um like gear that was conducive to flying these missions. So they were either freezing cold as you get up in the altitude, you didn't have the correct gear, or just stuff that these planes were haphazardly and um, just pushed together because again, the push for the war, you had to try to be ahead of the Japanese, the Germans. You had to be ahead of them. You couldn't be behind or no, I'd say nothing to do with law enforcement. I don't believe so. And that's nothing I saw amongst the verbiage or any of the the plaques there. So um so yeah, we watched, or there was like a 15-minute like little intro movie, and it was we both came out of there like, why is this the movie, the lead up, talking about like here's Pearl Harbor, here's sort of like your timeline at Pearl Harbor and December 7th, and um then they talk about Richard Bong, and they said, oh, here's matter of fact when he wrote back to his mom, so it looks like we're going to war, and that's where it ends. I'm like, you've got a museum basically dedicated to the guy, war hero, all these medals and whatnot, and then that's your lead up for him. A couple words and that's it, and then like I was hoping to hear more about him and all this other stuff, but again, it was in the museum, like his life and all this other stuff. So real good. A lot of Minnesota slash Wisconsin type World War II, Korean, Vietnam, um, with the Persian Gulf deal. I don't know if there's any Iraqi, like the stuff with Bush. That was it, Iraqi enduring freedom or whatever they tried to call it. But a lot of cool memorabilia, a lot of cool stuff you just don't get to see, and so we did that for a couple hours. Had some Chinese food. Struggled with the Chinese food. I think Sam's Club, and we came back and enduring freedom. See, it's it usually right on the nail on the head, but once in a while I hit my thumb with the hammer. Um, but yeah, it was a good weekend. Watched some golf on Sunday, the TPC, and then to break that up, we watched Oppenheimer. So again, more World War II centric activities. Again, heard about we both had heard a ton about it. And again, it mopped up. I know that at the Oscars. I'm trying to remember what the hell just happened. Was that the Emmys? Something just happened a week or two back. And Golden, I don't, whatever. It took a lot of fucking awards. So, and it's on Peacock right now. So we watched that, and it wasn't bad. 3 hours. That's a hell of a time frame for a movie because the only things like I watched that long 3 hour wise besides sporting events has been like Lord of the Rings. But that was in the theater, and then you have that surround sound. So even if it's like, oh my god, Samwise Gamgee is walking for the 14th time in this fucking movie, you hear like a rock fall in the movie, so that's sort of like it's a wake up call. So, oh shit, did something happen? I didn't. Joe. If it was the American one, I would have tried to tune in, especially with our rinks up this way. The John Schuster rink that's, I believe, won gold in the Olympics not too long ago. So, but yeah, just a lot of shit going on, a lot of stuff, fun stuff, informative stuff. But just it's almost like you feel overwhelmed with sports and in life, and there's just so much shit fucking going on that you want to turn to sit down. I'm like, hey, is there a pause button I can push somewhere and fucking just like stuff happens around me? That's fine, but let me just catch my bearings, allow allow things to tumble through and carry on, and just like, nope, it doesn't work that way.
I did that earlier. A little bit of decompression.
We all need it. That's the thing. You can't sit there and keep hammering the gas and let your foot off the gas, but you're not putting on the brake. You're just like taking your foot off the gas for a moment, and bam, right back on.
I was referring to just the events of today.
Yeah.
Ugh. I still have the stress built up right here.
Believe it.
So decompression didn't help a whole lot. I should probably be having a drink too, but I'm choosing not to.
I was talking to the better half. SGC collector.
Mario.
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 Yes, the Red Wings just won.
Patrick Kane.
Tonight I'm probably just going to be a tourist. So Vinny, you better step up and
I have been.
talk more.
I've been talking like a fool. And I'm even talking over you now.
Yeah, well, if it's not you, it's somebody else talking over me, so I'm kind of used to it.
The goal should stand.
Steve.
Don't care. Huh? That's the most lopsided heart I've ever seen.
I look at my hands. I am lopsided. This is true, better half. This is true.
As normal as he gets.
And speaking of Jeff Morris, I was watching that the lady I didn't know when he was talking about hockey cards, that set that came out.
Haley?
No, it was when we were talking about the Tim Hortons set, and I said, and this lady that I didn't know. Well, I know who she is now because somebody apparently had a Team Canada jersey and they stepped on it of some nature or pulled some disgraceful type stuff, you know, when they put a jersey like on the ground and just walk all over it. Apparently, that's what somebody decided to do to Team Canada. And well, she went all Canadian on him. Hey. And I watched that whole thing because he got me curious. And I saw it pop up on YouTube and I'm like, hey, that's the lady that Jeff was talking about. So I watched it and it was quite interesting. But I digress.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't any topics of hockey mentioned in the placeholder.
Hey, I got to do what the fan base asked for.
Or soccer for that matter. I was tuning in a little bit before actually jumping on here, hearing about your director title, and
the only time I'll ever be a director of anything.
Like I said, I had to decompress a little bit, so which is the reason why I sent the stinking follow-up text, because I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, it's getting later than normal. So I figured I'd, reiterate, in other words, start without me.
No, I had to wait for the chicken nuggets to get done there.
Yeah, I had to do that too. I had to eat something. I hadn't eaten all day. I wonder why. So I will, I'm disappointed nobody asked where the fuck I was or demanded to know where the fuck I was. Like, why the fuck is Vinny so special?
He's the director.
Ed Jagov.
So, for reasons, my day started off a little fucked up this morning. About 10 o'clock, I took my wife to the ER. And she had an emergency appendectomy today. That was not on my bingo card, nor on anybody else's bingo card for that matter. And to make matters worse, not only did she have an emergency appendectomy, not sure how she convinced me to keep my kid's dentist appointment, but we did. So, hospital this morning, back home, to the dentist, back to the hospital, to home. So I haven't really stopped much today. Other than sitting and waiting at the hospital, but even then you're not technically sitting. You're like, okay, what the fuck's going on? So yeah. She is home. So everything went well. Wasn't anything jacked up with it, which is always good. It was just extremely inflamed, which is why she got to come home. So, but yeah, that was my day today. So there's your reasons for anybody who gave a shit. So if you happen to see me step away more frequently than normal, it's to peek in, check in on my wife. And of course, what makes matters worse, the pain medication she called in, the fucking pharmacy was like, we can't fill that. Why can you not feel it? It's too high of a dosage. Beg your pardon? So my poor wife is dealing with quote unquote recovery without any pain medication. So she gets to fuck with that tomorrow.
Oh,
Figure out, because like by the time the doctor called it in, my wife got the text message. She called the pharmacy. That's what they told her. Like they were supposed to get in touch with the doctor. I should say the surgeon. So you know how that shit goes. So I don't know. In all my years of dealing with filling prescriptions and even pain meds, those who don't know, I still technically have a herniated disc in my back. I was fortunate enough to only have to have 2 injections. Knock on wood. Second injection was still going strong for 10 plus years. But even before that, like my pain meds were pretty high dosage. And like I I don't fucking know what the problem is. So she'll have to fuck with that tomorrow because there's nothing I can do. I'm not the patient. Yes, it's my insurance, but it has nothing to do with insurance. So like I can't. There's nothing I can do.
yeah.
But 325 milligram oxycodone, like that doesn't seem like off the wall. But then again, I don't know. So hopefully she'll get that figured out tomorrow. We'll see. So yeah, it's been a fucked up day. It's not fun when you're when you leave the hospital to get home to make sure the kid's up to then go to the dentist. Mind you, the dentist is an hour drive. I know. Find a closer dentist. No, not happening because this dentist is phenomenal. To then leave the dentist to go back to the hospital to pick her up to come home. To then go get food for the kid and I. Because they forced her to eat before they would let her go. So she had to eat, she had to pee, and she had to walk. All of that had to be done before they would let her go. But I technically haven't stopped since 10 o'clock this morning. And I started work today, like a normal day, waiting for my wife to get off and get over her stubbornness and ultimately tell me, hey, it's time to go. And then agitated as fuck because it started at 10 o'clock last night. I'm sitting there going, okay, I know I was still up at that time. I hadn't gone to bed yet, but even if I had, why the fuck didn't you wake me up? Like, you don't screw around with shit like that.
No.
But anyways, telling them that they were going to get it done either today or in the morning, or I should say tonight or in the morning. So I leave the hospital a little bit before 1 o'clock. And I want to say not more than 10 minutes after I got home, which was about 1:20-ish. I'm in pre-op. What? It's the worst feeling not being there for your significant other, knowing that they're getting ready to go into surgery and you're not there because she insisted that we keep my kid's dental appointment. The surgeon called me. We were like, I don't know, 5 minutes from the dentist office. The surgeon called me. Everything went well. It was fantastic. No gangrene, no complications. You know, she'll go home today. And I'm like, I wasn't there.
Hmm.
Our best friends that live across the street, they're still in Florida. So, like, my wife was there by herself because she insisted I still take the kid to the dentist. It bothers me. But it is what it is. Like, what's done is done. I just have a hard time accepting the fact of her being there by herself, and not and not me being there when she woke up. You know what I mean? Like it just maybe maybe I just need to suck it up and get over it because like I I did what she asked me to do. Still doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
And of course, no pain meds. So like she's fucking miserable, and there's not a fucking thing I can do. I mean, I guess technically there is. I could take her out to pasture, shoot, but I don't. I don't think that is allowed here. So, like,
And that sort of negates the surgery that was had early in the day. I mean, wow.
exactly,
Why are we doing
exactly. No, so not a funny story. Eventually, we'll get on topic a little bit. Maybe I don't know.
Well, this is part of March Madness. This literally is part of March Madness.
When you put it into perspective, I mean, you're not wrong. Um, so I always go in and check on her every morning to make sure she's up. She starts work at 9:30, so like I'm already up. I've been working for almost an hour before I go check in on her, and she was crying, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And that's of course when she told me she's like, "It started last night." I started asking questions. Not that I'm a fucking doctor, but I'm not stupid. Um, Asking her where it was hurting, stabbing, what type. Like my grandparents had a lot of health issues and stuff, so it's like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I'm not an idiot either.
Hmm.
And she's like, I may end up having you take me to the ER, and I'm like, well, first of all, why didn't you wake me up last night? First and foremost, like you don't fuck around with this shit. That didn't go over so well. Hence the statement of like she is brutal when she is in pain. Like it is Jekyll and Hyde. Like it is bad. And I'm like, can I get you anything? Do you need anything? It's like, just let me know. Like you tell me. So I went back, started working a little bit, told my boss what was going on, you know. And of course her response was, "Oh shit, go now." And I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no." So I went back in about 9:30, and she has her laptop because she's supposed to start work at 9:30. was like, are you seriously like gonna start working? She's like, no, I got on here so I could message my boss, and they have a presentation scheduled for 11 o'clock, and I'm like, and your point is,
Yeah.
well, you're not going to be saying that when I don't have a job. I'm like, no, like medical emergencies happen. Like if they were to uh, terminate your employment over this, they'd be in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Like, no. So of course I told my boss that. She started. I mean, she laughed, and I'm like, now you see what I deal with. You know, my wife is stubborn when it comes to this. She's a mother. Like I get it. I do. Like your mom, you're supposed to be tough as nails. Like you just power through things. Yeah, well, bullshit. So, like, I mean, I pretty much texted you and Vinny exactly at the time, or maybe I didn't. I texted you when we got to the ER, I think.
Yep.
But as soon as she walked out of her office and was like, "It's time to go," messaged the boss, "Leaving now." I've got my one employee chatting with me about something. I'm like, I don't have time to read it. I'm going. I gotta go. Turned around, messaged both him and my other employee, and was like, taking wife to ER. Like,
Yeah.
I'd already taken half a day anyways because I had the dentist appointment. So I was leaving at noon anyways, but still, it like kind of threw a kink in the chain. But and then her gasping and you know owing all the way because hitting certain bumps caused the jolt, and like I pretty much had a feeling it was going to be one of two things. It was going to be either appendicitis or it was going to be kidney stones.
Hmm.
Like I knew it was going to be one of the two because she had a little bit of discomfort in her lower back. And, listening to Vinny all the time when he has them, that's where it kind of radiates in that area.
Yep.
But the fact that it was only on her right side was like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be appendicitis. And like, not long after she came back from her CT scan, doctor came in. He's like, "Yep, appendicitis. It's coming out." And we both kind of looked at him. He's like, "I need to get in touch with the surgeon." I'm like, "Oh, it's coming out like soon."
Yeah.
He goes, "It's going to be either tonight or in the morning." He's like, "It's all going to be dependent on what the surgeon can do and what the OR looks like. But yes, like you're being admitted, you're not going anywhere." I'm like, "Oh shit." So, like I said, great way to start the day. Walk in to check on your wife. You can tell she's been crying. Got about like an hour of sleep or whatever because of the pain. I'm sitting there going, now's not the time to be stubborn.
No.
But that's when I get the evil eye and, just the I don't even like there's not even a word or a definition for how she is when she's like that. Like it's Jekyll and Hyde. And like but I mean, nice thing about it is she'll never get it again.
Yeah.
Of course I told her I was like 3 years ago in well, 3 years November would be when she had her hysterectomy, her partial hysterectomy. Now, of course, March. she has an appendectomy. I'm like, you're losing organs pretty fast. Like there's only one other organ that they can remove that you don't need, and that's your gallbladder. You're eventually going to need to have a couple of your wisdom teeth taken out. So like you're running out of things. She's like, well, they can take your intestine. I was like, yeah, part of it, but you don't want that.
Yeah, if you get that, you usually get something with it on the outside, or so.
Sometimes, depending on how much they have to take out.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, don't joke about that, or don't refer to that. Oh, maybe that can be the no.
But I'm like, fuck. But I like the only other time I've seen her in that much pain
It
is
was after episode 1 of the IRP.
no. No. Her back is worse than mine is. And she like threw it out big time. Like where she was literally curled up in a ball on the floor and could not move and just sobbing. I'm like, what do you like? Don't touch me. Don't move me. I'm like, you you tell me. So of course had to call 911 so they could actually like get her somewhere because like she literally could not move. But other like that is the only other time I've seen her that in that much pain. And it could have been rectified a lot sooner. She would have just fucking like woke me up. Like, really? There's a time to be stubborn, and there's times to not be stubborn. Because who knows? Like, if she would have waited it out, like, things could have been a shit ton worse. Like, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have something to add, Vinny, since you went off of mute?
No,
Usually you go off mute if you have something to say.
I usually do. I just hit the button.
You just hit the button. Is that what she said?
No,
The Simpsons episode that I don't remember if it's Bart.
Yeah, like totally.
When he has like the crusty O's and then there's like the metal jagged one. And he's got the cool scar, but it's like when they take the I think it's when they take the appendix out, they like throw it. Like it's gonna blow. And they throw the fucker and it goes off like a thing like a grenade or whatever, like a detonation and like that's all I could think about all day is like they're gonna take that out and throw it and people are gonna like cheer when it blows up.
Well, I mean,
Damn TV. Ruin my mind.
they did have one complication. Instead of 3 incisions, she actually had to have 4. It happens sometimes. So that was the only issue. Was instead of just the normal 3, she had to cut her a 4th time. What's my wife's question to the doctor after because she was going through everything, what they do, so on and so forth. Can't lift anything over 15 pounds for 4 weeks. She's out from work for 2. No submerging in water for 4 weeks. What is my wife's question? when is my girls' trip? And she looks at me. I'm like, I don't know. When the fuck is your girls' trip? I don't remember. It's sometime in April. All she could think about was being able to freaking get into the damn ocean and making sure it wasn't going to fuck with her girls' trip of being able to submerge herself in water. I'm like, really?
Hashtag priorities.
Give me a fucking break. I was like, it's the 19th, 4 weeks.
Right on the cusp.
It's
there.
it'll be you leave on Friday, your 4 weeks will be up on Tuesday. Like, and
You're
then
good.
the doctor kind of was like, I think you'll be fine.
The only
Like,
thing I
well,
can remember when Better Half had her surgery, that I'm sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting. Then the fire alarm goes off. And I'm asking them, like, what's going on? They're like, it's the fire alarm. No shit. Thank you. I appreciate that. FYI. What OR is in it? And they're like, 6. Where's Better Half? 6. So it was a false alarm. Engines come, shut it off, they leave. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Wee woo, here it goes again. Where, pray tell, is this one again? Oh, it's 6 again. You're kidding me. A hour and a half surgery, or an hour and a half to 2 hour surgery, took 6 hours. And I was losing my mind because not only did it take 6 hours, but we had 2 friggin' fire. They go, well, the sensor's bad. Change the sensor. Change the sensor.
They did. They picked one up from Wash.
Thank you.
But
picked it up from Walmart. Really?
Yeah. Wow.
That doesn't sound like a. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to leave it alone.
Exactly.
So many things come to mind.
that
Again,
Yeah.
Was it The Simpsons? Was it Dr. Nick Riviera?
Hi everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick. That's the best. To this day, that's one of the best intros ever. Hi everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
No matter where you go.
Where you go. That, or yes, I am Dr. Galiweekich. You mean Dr. Galakowitz? Yes, I am. It'll until the day we all die. Our generation, it will. Dr. Galiweekich will always be funny. Why? Because it just is. People probably have no idea what we're talking about, but that's okay. Well, this crew should. So we're in that age demographic, as they say.
Speak for yourself, old man.
Gracias.
You being the elder statesman.
This is true.
So in actuality, it should actually be this.
In theory, you are correct.
But it's not wrong in youngest to oldest. In
this is true too. The weight is at the bottom.
You said it. I didn't.
I stand by it.
So excuse me while I go take a peek in on my wife real quick. Chat amongst yourselves.
Not even going to give us a topic. Like the Browns extending Jerry Jeudy 3 years, I think 58 million somewhere in that neighborhood. Again, it's not all guaranteed, but yeah, I know who's going to finish last in the AFC West. I know who's going to finish second to last in the AFC West. When Oakland is your, I'd say, odds-on favorite to finish behind Kansas City, pretty much gave Kansas City the fucking division.
I'm just happy the Steelers got rid of all their quarterbacks. Like in
What the hell did I hear? The first time since 1957 that the Steelers don't at least have one returning from the previous year's roster quarterback.
that would not surprise me.
You start
I mean-
looking, trying to think. I'm like, yeah, Charlie Batch, Maddox, O'Donnell,
Yep. Bobby,
yeah, Bobby, of course, Ben.
you said
Bradshaw,
Maddox.
Mark Malone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I start piecing it together. I'm like, well, at least there's a couple gaps in there, but I'm like,
Who am I
It's-
missing?
but that's
I wanted to say Doug Flutie, but that's completely wrong.
correct.
Who was right before Ben? Was that Tommy Maddox?
Yeah, Maddox came in, and then
And then Ben came. And then Ben's been a staple forever.
Yep.
And then Dobbs just went somewhere. I
San
saw,
Fran.
yeah. So Dobbs is then Rudolph got pissed because they kept Kenny. Then they got
Well,
rid of Kenny.
when they signed Russell, I think he's just like, fuck you. Like, say something.
Yeah.
But he went to Tennessee.
And what's your food?
And then I know Mario had the question earlier, something about Kirk Cousins and Darnold. I'll see if I can. There it is.
Kirk
No.
Cousins paid a lot of money.
Yeah. That is not an upgrade. Unless you're looking at it like collectability. Darnold's probably got cooler rookie year stuff, obviously, because he's been the first overall pick, and Cousins is a fourth rounder. That would be the only thing Darnold would have an advantage on Cousins with. But as we mentioned, like last week too, it was you have to make those overpays if you're these teams that are sort of a rung or two lower than the usual suspects. If they work out, then you're looking golden, not Kenny. And if they don't work out, be like, well, at least we tried. I mean, what were we going to do? Fucking trot out Desmond Ritter again? I mean, no. Or Taylor Heineke or Marcus Mariota or any of these scrubs. So just a lot of stuff where you can see things playing into where people are drafting this year. Like Washington now probably doesn't trade number 2. You basically have Mariota and that's it on your roster for a quarterback. I know there's somebody else, but it's Jake Fromm from State Farm. But I mean, it's you don't have folks that's like, oh, there's somebody in place. There's a contingency plan.
Maybe I can hawk my Sam Darnold number to 10 now.
I'm sure.
It makes you wonder, though, if Pittsburgh's still going to try and go after a quarterback, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't go after Bo Nix because that's the big rumor around.
Well, I mean, we're talking free agency, but at the same time, like there's updated mock drafts and, there's projections of like Denver even trading back into the first round and still landing Bo Nix. It's like what I find interesting, and like I don't read everything that I see surrounding Denver or surrounding any of the projected mock drafts or anything because that's all it is. Like it's all mock, it's all guesses based on what a team needs or what the expectation is, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's solidified is with Chicago getting rid of Fields, it is a definite they will draft Caleb Williams.
Yep.
They're and they're going to be in on him to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only given that has come out of really anything. Atlanta needed a quarterback. They went and spent big money, got Kirk Cousins. They're not going to go after a quarterback. At least not in the next couple years. Will they do it at some point? You would think, yes. But like I don't know. I said it last week. This has been such an unusual, crazy active free agency that has much more impact on the draft and the potential for trades in the draft for those teams that need quarterbacks. But I will say it here. If Denver tries to trade up in the draft to get McCarthy, and in order for that to happen, they have to give up Surtain, I'm fucking pissed. I'm fucking pissed. I mean, I get it. It's a rebuild year. Next year, they'll be much better in the cap space world since they're eating the bulk of the dead money from Russ this year. So 2025, they're setting themselves up pretty well. But if it's at the cost of moving Surtain,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a hard time like not losing my shit. And I know Vinny just went off camera, but there's rumors that they're already talking about potentially extending Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if that's in fact the case and it does happen, Pittsburgh will not go quarterback in the draft because it'll be Russ and Justin going for the starting job unless they try and turn Justin Fields into like another slash. He's not built like Cordell Stewart, so I don't see that happening. But
No.
like if they extend Russell Wilson, they picked up Fields, both guys they got for steals, let's face it. Like
Oh yeah.
Pittsburgh's like Justin Fields or not, or think freaking Russell Wilson's over the hill, whatever. Like from a quarterback perspective, they stole both quarterbacks in free agency. Even if they extend Russ for 2-3 years at 40 million, like still, like whatever it looks like. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Who wins the starting job?
I think right now they basically have said it's your job, Russ. It's yours.
And that's the same thing that I've been kind of gathering, but at the same time, talk is cheap. So it's one of those in which maybe this lights a fire under Justin Fields' ass and he becomes the quarterback that everybody was hoping that he would. I don't know.
Yeah. And
I
that's
don't
the
know.
thing with Pittsburgh. Next, if you look, and again, we got a month before it starts, but I know that'll be one thing we talk about is like this year's quarterback class versus next year's quarterback class. So if you need your quarterback, if you're desperate to get your quarterback, right now this year might be the more prudent year to try to get one of those either top 3 or the McCarthy or the Knicks, even though I'm not really sold on either one of those guys. I mean, if you're does it look better than next year's top end? Probably. Like you said last week, you don't want fucking Shadur Sanders and all the baggage that comes with that. But what then that leaves? I know on that draft guide, it didn't have much of anything to look forward to. It's not like any top tier, top high end talent. Sort of like what would have been 2 years ago in the draft, the 2022 draft, where there wasn't much going on quarterback wise. It was all going to be your big uglies, your linemen and your backers type people. So this could be a draft where GMs that are on the brink of possibly getting shit canned, you're making those moves. Which one of those moves on Friday came out where the Vikings picked up a first rounder and what the heck was it? The 6th or 7th, I think, from Houston this year. For their second this year, a 5th or 6th, and then a second next year, which I don't understand the trade. I really don't understand the trade. But I don't think I'd question D'Amico Ryans, liked him since college. Always been a pretty steadfast, head on the shoulders type of guy where he's not going to do anything like a knee jerk reaction. He doesn't want to have like a hoot nanny breakout down in Houston. So that leaves the Vikings with pick 11 and pick 23. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of chatter going on. And it'd still have to be, you'd have to do a lot of finagling with that cap. Lots of chatter about possibilities of trying to trade up to either 5 with the Chargers or trade those 2 picks in some sort of package with the Chargers and try to get Justin Herbert. Which, again, in a John Madden football game world, that makes sense. If you can get 2 first rounders and you can pick your quarterback at 5, which you wanted. If nobody jumps to Arizona's spot, which not always a given. Even New England at 3, if somebody offers them the world for the 3rd pick, they might take it. So, yeah, it's one of, if not the wackiest off seasons, NFL wise, that I can remember. Just, I mean, you can't go like 2 or 3 hours that last week without some shit happening where you're just like, what the hell? What's going on?
The retirements.
O-line, secondary. You're kicking the can on Harrison Smith and his contract constantly down the road. I know he restructured again. I think this is the 3rd year in a row, possibly 4th. You lost pretty much. I know we talked with Brad. They got Van Ginkel, Grenard, and Blake Cashman as linebacker, DN linebacker, but you're still The one thing people are I've seen anytime, like on Instagram, you'll see like the team posting, "Welcome to the team, so and so," or "Thank you, Kirk Cousins, for whatever." It's like trade. Vikings trade second, and a sixth or whatever to get a first and a seventh in Houston. I'm reading through the comments. If you trade 11 and 23 to move up to like 3 or 5 and draft JJ McCarthy, I'm gonna hang myself. Like, just people like, do not do this to me. Do not do this. And I don't know. I'm not in their room. I'm not in their scouting room. I'm not in their like draft team room. I've with the GMs, and I don't know who they love, how much they love them. But that this could be the draft where a lot of people lose their jobs.
Well, in all fairness, it's easy for all of us to be armchair quarterbacks, you know, couch GMs. Like, we don't see everything, anyways. Unless you're sitting there watching hours upon hours of film, upon hours. Did I mention upon hours? The combine is only so much. Some of these players also have private workouts. Most of that's not it's not privy to the casual fan to see some of that. But, every GM, every coach, every assistant GM, scouts, whatever, there's always reasons as to why teams do what they do. And as a fan, we're not always going to understand. Good, bad, and different. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. I mean, you look back in years prior in Oakland, and I'm saying Oakland because at the time they were Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Look at some of the weird shit that they did. Projected, 120 something on the fucking top chart, and they're drafting them in the first round. 99% of the time they became garbage. Like, what were they thinking? So, but at some point, there was a reason why they did it. And to a casual fan or even a devout fan, we're not always going to know, and we're not always going to understand.
Watching an actual GM put together a team this year, it is some seriously rough shit. Like, it's one day was guys that had representation. So they had all those guys. Then there was the next day was those guys came back that they wanted. And then they had guys with no representation. Then we started training camp, and every day these people would just roll in. Like, am I too late to try out? So you have all these people roll in from like the tryouts all through training camp. I mean, I saw probably 100 people go through there, and we're at better half. What are we at? 24 or 22?
26.
We have 26 guys right now. You could have up to 30 or 40.
I'm not sure.
You can dress Well, 11 start, 5 on the bench. No, 6 on the bench. So 17 can travel.
We had people reach out to us today and ask if they could come try out.
So you just heard the better half. They had people today ask, "Am I too late for tryouts?" Because what happens is they go try out for upper. Not like this happens in the NFL or anything, but you go try out for tier 2 and tier 1, MLS, USL. You don't make it. You drop down to, you try out for every team you can. Nobody calls. You go to third tier. And often, sometimes you might get some diamonds in a rough.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you're also talking of thousands of dollars in contracts, not millions of dollars in
Yes,
contracts.
this is sometimes hundreds of dollars on contracts.
Or I should say hundreds of thousands, because
Yes.
not everybody in the NFL makes $1 million.
Correct.
But like, what's the league minimum these
There is
days?
none.
No, I'm not talking
Oh.
about in NISA. I'm talking about NFL.
Probably Christ, like 750 maybe. Like 750,000, 572. Somewhere it's gonna be
I mean, it's in the upper hundreds. Like, that's
660,000.
you're probably looking at the average, though. Yes.
Okay. As per the league's collective bargaining agreement established in March 2020, NFL players' minimum salary measured up to 660,000 in 2021, which meant up from 610,000 in 2020. The minimum salary rose to 705,000 in 2022. This year's minimum salary for an NFL player is 750 grand. So league minimum is 750 grand.
Which is crazy if you think about it.
And you have to
I
buy
mean-
your helmet if you want one.
I mean-
Otherwise you can't afford helmetless.
No, at the end of the year, if you want your helmet, you got to buy it. I just watched something on TV about it.
I mean, being a special teams player, that's all you freaking do, to run, like, especially on a kickoff, to basically run to the other side of the field a few times a game for 3/4 of a mil.
It's not bad.
what's his name? Matthew Slater made a career out of it.
I mean, not too shabby. But what's up with Dallas drafting players that have to medically retire at such young ages?
I don't know.
And two, Sean Lee,
Yep.
and now Leighton Vander Esch. And that's unfortunate, because that
I
kid
didn't
was
hear
fucking
about
good.
him.
Yeah, he had to
Today?
medically retire. Medically retire. Like 28 years old. Like, and that kid was fucking good. Like, Sean Lee was here. Leighton is up here. Like, skill.
Leighton was like a 17th overall pick. Sean Lee was second or third round. But still, I mean, quality players, both guys. It's not like, man, Van Der Esch was great out of Boise State, and Lee, honestly, he was a Pittsburgh guy.
I mean, granted, they're two different players. Like, I'm not trying to. They're not. It's not. I'm not comparing apples to apples. Sean Lee, from a leadership perspective, was a captain. Not sure if Leighton was or not on the defensive side of the ball, but Sean Lee was. Like, Sean was all over the ball,
Mm-hmm.
like, all the time. He was a baller, man. Not saying that Leighton was not, but like, Leighton, his projection was only, like, he could only get better.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Lee kind of plateaued, and Vander Esch, being as young as what he was, like, he only tapped up to a certain point. But two players, both being drafted, both being phenomenal defensive players, having to medically retire at a young age. Because I think Sean Lee was in his early 30s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it wasn't much older than Vander.
And like you could tell the difference in the defense when Sean Lee was in his prime. Like their defense started sucking if Lee got hurt and was out.
Mm-hmm.
So not so much with Van Der Esch. They were able to find other pieces to the puzzle. But even then, like it's unfortunate. It's almost saddening because like kid in his prime, phenomenal football player, and having to fucking medically retire. I mean that just sucks. So much more potential because he had not reached his prime and he still his trajectory was still going on the up and up. But at least he went out still technically on his own terms. He didn't decide to play again, get injured, and then have to medically retire.
Mm.
Um, so that's one good thing about it, at least for him. It just, I don't care who it is. Like everybody knows I'm not a Cowboy fan, but like I am a fan of the game. And there's a lot of players that I like and that I enjoy and, don't mind watching teams that I can't stand just to watch them play.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and, you know, watching the Cowboys, watching Sean Lee.
Oh, so much
It
fun.
was amazing how that guy he could sniff out the ball, man. He was always around the football. It didn't fucking matter where it was. He was always around it. And Van Der Esch was getting to the same caliber of Sean Lee. Always where the ball was. And I hate it for some of these younger guys that they're forced to have to medically retire because their body just isn't it isn't working for them.
John Lee reminded me so much of like a Jeremiah Trotter, where there wasn't like a lot of hype, maybe a little undersized, but always had that nose for the ball. I mean, anytime you
Yep.
saw a tackle, if it was him making the solo or him on like a cleanup or him just like in there, Trotter was right there. Lee was right there. I know there's more, but I mean, it's just like you had certain linebackers that you just sort of like, I hate the team. But the way they play the game, the way they instinctively around the ball, know what's going on.
He left it all on the field, man.
Yeah.
And those are the type of players that, regardless of the team they play on, that's what keeps you kind of coming back to watching football. Because like I said, Cowboys are always on TV here. I'm surrounded
Everywhere.
by a lot of Cowboys fans. And, I've watched a lot of games. But, watching him play, both of them play, it's like, it sucks if you put yourself in the perspective of, ownership. Drafting these guys, they're everything that you wanted and more. And then you end up losing them because their body just can't take it anymore. It's freaking crazy.
And then you have guys that seemingly retire at the top of their game.
Aaron Donald.
That at least get somewhere in the in the placeholder. But you had heard that too the last couple of years, where it's like, you don't want to pay me, or you
So
want to
Sean
pay
Lee
me.
was 34, by the way. when he
Okay.
retired.
Or you want to take out, you want to keep on the restructuring thing. It's like, well, no, because I've earned you paying me, and now all of a sudden it's, we got to find that money somewhere. Well, that's not necessarily my problem. My performance didn't dictate a downturn in pay. I'm sure if he had like whatever, again, I don't know his stats. I know he usually has double digit sacks, tons of quarterback pressures. Let's say he had only 5 sacks through a full healthy season. Maybe he'd be receptive to that. Hey, are we gonna do this, do that? What are we gonna do? But I think at some point when he's just like, you know what? Got the title. I've got a decade of like work that can be pretty much put up against any D lineman, especially interior D lineman, in the history of the game. Multiple first team All Pros. I think accolades like a mile wide. There you go. And you've earned how much money?
I wonder with him though if it, and like I don't think we'll ever know, but like hearing him when he talked about retirement. One, it, with him, I don't think it was ever about the money. I really
No.
don't. Did he lose the passion, or had he gotten to the point to where maybe he didn't want to play for another team, and there that was always a possibility? I know it's unheard of in today's game of loyalty, but it makes you wonder. Because, like for him, it was definitely not about the money with him. He wanted he wanted championships. He was an all around team guy. Same thing, in the freaking '90s with the Cowboys. How many times did Aikman or Emmett or anybody else, Johnston, Novacek, restructure their contract to keep their team together to bring in some missing pieces in order to win championships? Like he was one of those guys. So it makes me wonder, is it maybe he got an inkling or a feeling that maybe his time was going to be up? Or is it he knows his body and maybe it wasn't up to his standards to keep playing? Like he's a physical specimen. Like I don't feel like it's that. But he's going out still technically in his prime almost.
Hmm.
And like I said, we'll probably never know. We'll never fully know the real reason. but he's one that will never don another jersey. He will retire a Ram. Like,
no, and I don't know. It just
Barry
it,
had good reason though, Mario. Like his body couldn't take much more.
yeah, you had the AstroTurf of those days, and him cutting on that shit as much as he did.
And
Go
getting hit behind the line of scrimmage and still finding like his body couldn't take anymore.
Yeah, he's and then the ineptitude of Detroit. It's like, you know what? You had the middle of the '90s where again it sort of looked like something might be happening with Perriman or Scott Mitchell, but then Scott Mitchell turned out to be Scott Mitchell in '96, and then it's like, okay, now you're not really doing anything. Now you're drafting the bat near the top of the first round, and you're not really bringing anything back. It's like, you know what? I'll retire. I'll save myself. Whatever's left of me, I will try to keep for future use. Because again, people in Detroit aren't going to blame me for uh, the failures of the team. They've seen me for 10 years do everything in my fucking power, literally out of body experiences, gaining yards when there's no yards to be gained. Yes, I think he's got the record of most being tackled behind the line of scrimmage for uh, rush losses or whatever you want to call it. But would you rather have Houdini showing you a magic trick or Vinny? So,
Well, here's two.
now there's one. So, and I don't know if that's like Donald saying, you know what, every box. Well, neither did Donald either. Jim Brown. I mean, it's a lot of different varying uh, choices. He wasn't a guy either that liked the limelight. I don't think he really cared about the spotlight. Like Odell Beckham, he's gonna hang on till he can't fucking walk because he loves the attention. Terrell Owens, Chad Johnson.
Yep.
But you had
would have
people
been Antonio Brown until
He went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
oh,
no, there's not a true definition for what happened to him. And it's unfortunate. Like I'm not like that has CTE written all over it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him because his talent was unquestionable.
who was it? The backer in Cincinnati? Oh, Vontez Perfect. That's probably what happened to Antonio Brown because I know he got popped a couple times. That's another one that I get big hits in football, but you sit there and say, well, this is a fraternity and you're willing to pretty much end somebody else's career.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
I mean, Romanowski definitely had something going on. I mean, Sayal, that we know. Like, I feel like we're going to hear more and more about some of that shit.
next decade or so, it's going to be.
Like, I mean, Aaron Hernandez, of course, being the most notable one recently that's been confirmed. But it's like, and let's face it, I know a lot of us bitch about the game is definitely different. they are trying to make it safer, all for good reason. Because I mean, I always talk about Steve Atwater and his prime, and he would literally launch
Hmm.
at guys, launch, and it's as much as you're kind of like, oh damn, or ooh and ah, like let's face it, like even with the helmet and pads and everything else, your body is only meant to cushion so much
Hmm.
and take so much abuse. So it's I think, like you said, within the next decade, we're going to hear more and more about players who have ultimately retired. And and the thing about it is like testing has to progress because at this point, the only way anybody knows is after you kick the bucket.
Hmm.
Like they haven't developed testing in live beings in order to figure out how to diagnose it, let alone treat it. Like so it's like I said, I know a lot of us kind of bitch about player safety and like there are still some times where a hand against the quarterback's helmet being called for roughing the passer, like a forearm or a hand across the helmet probably is not going to like. I mean, come on, let's be
Yeah.
realistic. But I get it. No chop blocks, no horse collar tackles, no hits on defenseless receiver. Like I get all of it.
Hmm.
Does it take away for those who have watched football for a long time? Does it take away from the game some? Absolutely. But it is for good cause and for good reason. And I think it's only going to like this is just the beginning though too when it comes to some of that shit. Look at how they're constantly trying to redevelop helmets to avoid the potential of head injuries and concussions. Trying to find ways to better, I don't want to say cushion the blow, but that's ultimately what they're trying to figure out how to do.
Hmm. Minimize
But
the impact of the force of the hit.
but and it's not just helmet to helmet.
Yep.
It's how many like playing on AstroTurf. That shit fucking hurts. And I'm speaking from experience, not from a football perspective. Playing soccer indoor, there ain't no fucking helmets. That shit fucking hurts, man. You want to talk about freaking jawing your fucking noggin, man. It's it's not pleasant.
She had those 5 penalty shots in overtime. She had a dive for each one of them. And she's battling the flu. She's sore as hell. And I think it was 41 degrees at game time. So when she was done, she was just, when she got home, she's like, every part of my body hurts from hitting. And we were on AstroTurf outside. It was a Notre Dame prep high school. Beautiful field.
It fucking hurts though.
And
Mhm.
she hurt. When you got to throw your body, if you basically lunge in the air to come down on your body, and you're gonna, even though no one's hitting you, you're gonna hit the ground. And she's 12. People were like, I could be a goalie. Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I've always said, like It's no different. I was talking about armchair quarterbacks. It's the same thing with fucking, and it's no longer soccer moms. It's just soccer parents in general.
Correct.
Like for me, I never had that issue playing soccer. Like, and a lot of that had to do with our coach. Coach didn't tolerate any shit talk from any parents or anything. Like that shit was nipped early because we didn't always have a full team of studs. Like that wasn't a thing.
Mhm.
And for those who don't know anything about soccer, typically your worst players are put on defense. You have one superstar, which is usually your center fullback. That's the best player on the defensive side of the ball. Your left and your right are usually your two of your worst players. That's usually how it is. Unless you have a team of studs, that's just how it works. So, like, until somebody's played the game and has played the position, or, and then the other thing is, of course, they'll claim that they did, and then you're like, yeah, I call bullshit. Because rec ball or even select/classic ball, yes, select and classic is more competitive, but I can tell you one thing: our rec league, our city league, was pretty intense. And then with all the tournaments we played, and we always played an age group up every tournament. Sometimes we went 2 age groups up because that's how you get better. But until you've played the game, the like a parent should like zip it, like zip it. The whole point of being in the cheering section is to root your team on. Oh, well, so and so sucks. Oh, well, so and so screwed the pooch. Oh, so and so messed up. No. You want to have those conversations? You do it in private to where nobody else can hear you. This is one of the main reasons why I've always told you. I'm hoping to never be up there and she have a game. They're not going to have to worry about you. They're going to have to worry about me because I won't keep my fucking mouth shut.
Well, I did not on Sunday morning. They were like, hold the ball. I'm like, first of all, she's in traffic. The ball was shot 3 times in a matter of 6 seconds. She stopped the ball, and the next one went in. So she stopped 2, the third one went in. And hold on to the ball. And better half goes, do not engage.
Fuck you.
Wait a minute. So I was like, I knew there was a gate around there. C was on this end. So I got my happy ass up and I'm walking out and they side-eyed me. I said, they got to go through 10 to get to the 1. They got to go through 10 to get to the 1. And I never say anything about your kids. Why do you guys always have to say something about mine?
Well, and in all honesty,
And I walked out.
It's not just that. Since you didn't provide details until now about the one goal that got let in,
Mhm.
That was one of the, I think that morning was 3.
the defense should not be blocking the view of the goaltender either. That's something that is taught in practice. The only time you should be blocking the view of the goalkeeper is in the event that it's a free kick and you're building a wall.
She had to do that
That's
twice.
the only time that they should be blocking the view of the goalkeeper.
Those were the two other goals.
Outside of that, you have to give your goalkeeper lanes in order to see what's going on. Do not stand in front of them.
The other two goals, one was a free kick. She dove the right way, and the other one was a penalty kick in the freaking box. So if you blame your keeper on a penalty kick, you need kicked. Because guess what?
It's a 50-50. It's 50-50.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a 50-50. Like, no. Like,
That's 0-100. I watched something in the car on the way to the finals, and they said, the only one on the pitch that has the goal. What did it say? It was like it's only the goalkeepers always by themselves and with their God, whoever they choose that to be. And I had father in there because I'm her dad, but it's like you just and even the team we were placing, was it that morning? Yeah, we were playing Plymouth, which is the Stars goalkeepers club that he coaches for, Ennis, who's a dear friend of mine. And the goalie on the other team, practices with her. So you kind of know, you hear this for them, and you don't ever, I mean, you hear it, but like the game she played against the Jags, and they were a select one team ranked like 21st in the state or something like that, high, maybe even higher than that. And she blanked them 0-0. 8 shots, stopped all 8. Goalies have good games, they have bad games, just like everybody else. It is what it is. She's 12.
Well, I've always told you, you're either the hero or the zero.
Yep. There is no in between for the goalie.
No.
But hey, Dave. It's shiny. I'll give it to you. So I opened a box of 2022 Series 1 and Series 2 hangers, and I grabbed that and a box of 22 Donruss. That got that to 99.
Vintage back? Oh, what the hell is that?
Vintage back to 99. Gio Urshela. This will go to the lowest rung.
Vincent Edward Bo Jackson.
Correct. There was a nice one of these. I think that's the refractor version.
Yep, the chrome, yep.
The chrome. So there was a good little stack of Rendon.
Foil board.
Yep. This will go to Young Edward.
Yeah.
It's Philly, or we've got Joey Gallo, Buster. Like, I'll keep that, Buster Posey, the stars of the MLB. I got a Judge, Jose Ramirez, Matt Olson, who I like, Paul Goldschmidt, Cedric Mullins. That'll go to Edward. Then the Donruss was just a bunch of. I got a purple Goldie. That's kind of nice. This is kind of nice. Dominators, Goldschmidt. There's a numbered card in here somewhere. Diamond Keats Trout, that goes to lowest rung. One of those Verdugo with the nickname on it. Unleash the Beast, Acuna. There's a Diamond King of what my guy Henry Davis. He's in there. Ooh, almost fell. Almost fell. Almost fell. Hold on. Readjust. There's too much wobble in the wibble. Here it is. Henry Davis. So that's for me. But Craig Biggio. There was some shiny stuff. Here, this is very appropriate for our show. Hashtag trending. I think here's
Allegedly.
yeah. Fernando Tatis nickname purple. That's probably worth 50 cents. Like I care. Here it is. Frankie Montas, the 469 of the like retro type deal, 88 retro. So, hey. Oh, Key Brian Hayes. This is nice. Another one for me. So, some for Dave, some for you. I don't know what I got for football. I just went down there and grabbed something because I didn't know when Steve was going to get here. And that one thing had all these beeping things in it. That's a lot of beeping things for one box.
The old security detector.
Judas Priest. I'm trying to see. I got stickers on these. So this Walmart 4 of 2022, I got the Series 1. I got the Target Series 2 in May of 2022. And then I got the Donruss in July. Apparently, I got 10 boxes of that, 6 boxes of this, and 10 boxes of that. So that's that. That's a whole bunch of. It's fun. I like doing that every once in a while. I've done it the last 2 weeks for shits and giggles and shit.
I'll open my last little thing I have here. Speaking of Odell Beckham Jr. and Justin Jefferson, can somebody start throwing out some decent rookies from so I can pull one? There's Jalen Waddle, TJ. TJ, what? Bryce Young.
That ain't bad.
That's not bad either. Silver Jack Campbell. Green of Hawkinson.
That's a good one.
I won't show that one because that one will go to somebody. Red, white, and blue. Nobody worthwhile. Who's this freaking rookie? Oh, Stetson Bennett. Bryce Young wasn't bad. That's the last thing that I had to open.
I got some.
Well, that's technically not true. I'm just not opening
This
anything else.
I'm 0 for 4 on the Bedard chase. I checked 2 Myers and 2 Walmarts, one in Cincinnati and one in Kentucky, 2 Myers in Michigan. Nothing so far.
Well, Target dropped theirs, but sold out way too fast. Like I was checking it twice a day forever.
Well,
and never saw them come up. But here's something interesting. Price point for Series 2 was supposed to be more expensive. What's interesting is the 10s and the blasters for Series 2 on Target were still showing the same MSRP.
Ooh, That's why
Series
they
1.
sold out. Judas Priest. Because blasters are going for 40, megas are going for 60, hangers are going for 20, and tins are going close to 100. Hobby is
So-
still about 300. So we're probably through the first of 4 printings. So by the time it hits next year, Series 1's already starting to tank. I saw tins for that down to $60, or that might be the original price of a tin. I'm not sure.
Random.
That's nice. Chipper. I like
Best
it.
cut.
97 Bowman's best cuts.
Yep. Refractor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not refractoring very well, but
Could see it though.
Yeah, I'll refractor too. I will see your refractor. This came in today. I bought this like 4 weeks ago.
Is that the rookie?
So this is 2000, 2001 tops. Mary Lemieux.
The Peachy one.
Yeah,
90.
this is from 1991 OPG. Yeah, 1991 OPG Premier. This is 13 of 23 refractor. This I have the regular chrome set. This refractor set's going to be tough, and it ain't going to be cheap. And this guy posted a bunch of them, and they were $37 American. Well, I nailed down 3 of them. The rookie was up on there, the tops, which is, I think, 2 of 23. No, 1 of 23. OPG's 2. When you look at the order, tops was always before OPG because it was a tops product. That refractor was, I think, $37 like the rest of them. So,
well, I'll one up your regular refractor and give you a gold.
okay, let's see here. What can I do?
Is
Number
that Rudy
50.
Rudiger? Rudy Rudiger?
Rudy Rudiger. Yep. I've started.
That's not a refractor, but it's rare. It's a rare pull. It's a case hit.
Is it numbered to 50 or less?
No, it is not, Stephen.
So I still got
No.
I could show stuff, but that defeats the
you.
purpose of the Christmas episode.
It
Yeah.
does. Well, this is so I started thumbing through stuff in preparation for future show. Because as far as I'm concerned, we can stick a fork in the survey. 17 votes were cast. 97 Skybox Premium is the winner. So,
Well, I was gonna buy a box to match whatever won. Unfortunately, gentlemen, I will be not partaking. I looked at the other 3 and I'm like, oh, this is affordable. I waited for last for that one because I figure I would be like, oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming for you. That's a Sanford and Son joke for anybody who's not aware. But they're like, who's Sanford and Son? Anyhow,
People don't know that either.
yeah. $559 was the cheapest I saw it.
well, that's because of rubies.
What? Huh?
Who's in there?
Here's you another random.
Tony Gonzalez, maybe?
Corey Dillon, Work Done are the plumber.
Okay.
Those are the big ones.
Mirror image. Refractive.
That's nice.
Oh, this is the Atomic, Dave.
Okay.
It's not really picking up very well.
You can see it dancing more than the refracting of just like the regular one.
I got one for Dave. Here, Dave. This one's for you. Exquisite. This is out of 15-16 exquisite. So that's McDavid rookie year to 499. There, the other one, he has two exquisite base cards. One's to 99, one's to 499. So it's that one. Then I grabbed this is McDavid rookie year 15-16 cup base. And this is probably one of my favorites. 13-14 the cup base. So my pledge, Joe, I think you're gonna win the bet, buddy. Because then I got these for like stupid cheap. If you know anything about these are Be a Player. These are numbered to 499 as well. This is 266 and 296 of 499. But I got these for stupid cheap, and you don't see these too often. Plus they're cool as hell. And then we'll end with a banger. Now, sit down because Vinny usually don't buy these kind of cards.
Another auto.
On card auto number 299. Actually, number 99 of 99.
Flip it upside down.
An eBay 99 of 99.
Yeah, it's a 66 of 66. It's
That's
so I will do something I normally do not do, and I will reveal what Vincenzo paid for a card. This was buy it now for 125 bucks or best offer.
I'd have bought that.
I was like, hey, I was like, better half. Can I spend money? And she's like, she let me spend money. So
I'll share one more and then we can wrap it up, Dave. Because like I said, I'm hunting through a few boxes in preparation, but since most people know I'm not a baseball guy. What? Vinny gets the big treatment? I don't? Like what?
Well, no, I'm Ooh, nice gold Yachty.
ooh,
For Bowman
I like
or Bowman draft, whatever it would be.
Yep.
my brother.
Talk about random shit.
Yeah.
But pack pulled. So like I don't know what all's in this box. I keep thumbing through and grabbing certain sections or whatever, and there's like a lot of Terrell Davis dupes and shit in here, but like I said, it's just a bunch of random shit. But
Usually I don't buy any autos till like the end of the year, but when I saw it for that price, Lemieux autos don't go that cheap.
No.
And I'm like, that was Panini Prime. He's in the right setup for me. And I was like, I just got to. It's just that card's just prime signatures. And there's a Leaf card out. Once upon a time in Pittsburgh, an autograph of his, and it has multiple parallels. It's in Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I like to have that card because it says once upon a time in Pittsburgh. It's kind of poetic for him because really it's, even though Yager didn't spend his whole career there, Yager's a Penguin. Bottom line, end of story. Jaromir Jagr's a Penguin because every other club that wanted to draft him, nope, I'm not coming. Hey, Pittsburgh's going to try to draft you. Okay, I'll be there. And he came. So, ooh, that's nice. I like Warren Moon.
96, what is it, Tide Turners?
yep, refractor.
That is nice.
Not an
Silver.
easy pull. Not an easy pull either.
No, not at all. Where you think now, a lot of those like refractor um, inserts
Yeah,
are like a
yeah.
one a box type thing. Those were not. Those were good luck.
One of my, you don't have to make me big for this one. So this is the last card I'll show. Like one of the coolest insert sets that I think Pacific did.
Wow, that's nice. Is that deco edged?
Airmail die cut.
Airmail die cuts.
That's slick as hell.
So you want to talk about condition sensitive.
Oh,
Was that a case hit numbered at all? Or
no, that it they were one a box
okay.
or right about a box.
1 in 37s.
Yeah, so like pretty much one a box, but just beautiful, like simple yet beautiful. Like in the checklist is fairly small, and it's big name guys too in that set.
Here's a rare one. That's a harder pull, even for a manufactured patch. These are out of this year's OPG with Bedard. So I was happy to grab that. Ooh, that's an artist proof. I like those. Lemieux doesn't have any with that little red thing on it.
98.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just happened to stumble across that too, and Dave's appreciation of artist proofs underappreciated. But anyways, wrap us up, Dave, because we need to chat a little bit in preparation for show and tell, and plus, I want to get to bed early.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
First, any thoughts, any pick NCAA tournament? I know you're going to say I don't watch enough to make a choice, but make a choice.
I don't even know who's in it, Dave, because I chose not to be a part of the bracket this year. So, in essence, I really don't have a pick because I don't know who's all in it.
Pick a team, and I'll give you a thumbs up or a thumbs
down. North Carolina.
There you go. That's I believe a number one seed. Maybe the South. Yeah.
Like you, I'm not a huge Duke fan. Like I would root for Texas if they were in it. I assume they're usually always in it.
Yep, they're in it this year. Like a 7 seed, I believe, in one region or whatever.
But North Carolina, just because the reason for that is, of course, because of Jordan.
Michigan State in it?
They are their number 9 seed, playing I think like Mississippi State, maybe.
I'll take them for the sole purpose that a kid that went there, Kenny Goins, he went to a high school that my oldest two went to, and his dad, his grandparents were from the same, like one town over from where I grew up. So him and I became friends when I first moved here. So I will take Michigan State.
And one of you two probably will be wrong because I do not quote me on this. I think if they were to win both their first round games, that would be the second round game. Michigan State versus UNC. I think. Again, from by brief looking at the bracket, that was something I'm like, oh. I think in my one I filled out for ESPN.com, and again, it's not like I follow men's basketball, but usually it's women's a little more, just because again, that's what Naomi plays. That's what I'm going to watch more of. In the game, for me, and people probably hate hearing it, it's more pure. It's not as razzle dazzle. I don't need to see basic like bounce passes all the time and all that shit. But I don't need to see anytime you get the ball stripped away, it's like I'm watching Hamlet, some big fucking production. Like how can you call me call a foul on me? How can you say that's out of bounds on me? Shut up. I didn't know everybody was um, auditioning for like Fiddler on the Roof or fucking Hamilton or whatever. It's like everybody has a production when they have a turnover or a foul.
And yes, you're right. If Michigan State and North Carolina win their first round game, they would play each other.
I just like the fact that college, I don't know, I haven't watched college ball in like 5 years. They used to play defense, which is lacking in the NBA. So, I mean, I used to love to watch a defensive basketball game. Even if the score was like 100 points, there was still so much defense when I watched basketball with Shaq and Bird and
Yep.
up until even like the last time I remember remember when Dwight Howard came to
Yep.
Orlando, they still played defense, and he was another big man. I enjoyed watching the big guys play in the paint. It was good basketball still. Then I don't know, something happened where it was just I just can't watch it. I just everybody cries and whines and everybody shoots 3-pointers. And I granted Steph Curry is a great 3-point shooter, but he ain't no Larry Bird. And then those guys ain't Magic Johnson. And they're not.
No, you don't see passes like he had.
And you don't have the worm anymore. Well, he only scored 6 points. Yeah, but he had 30 rebounds in a freaking game.
Like Ben Wallace, same thing. Yeah. Ben Wallace didn't want to have fucking 30 points. He wanted to have 30 rebounds.
Yeah.
Scott Skiles didn't want to have 6 for 8 from 3-point land. He wanted to have 25 assists like Stockton.
Yeah, like John Stockton. Stockton to Malone. What was it, NBA Jam?
Yep.
Not too many people would pick Stockton and Malone, and I would pick Stockton and Malone. I'd shoot a 3 with Stockton and Barrett from Stockton to Malone. Boom. Thunder.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah, boom shakalaka.
He's on fire.
Yeah. And who else was it? It wasn't Danny Ainge.
Marley?
Thunder Dan, yeah. Him and Charles Barkley. I think those were the two. People could say what they want about Sir Charles. He's a piece of work. God, he's an American treasure, because that son bitch just says whatever he wants. And I mean that in the most beautiful terms, because he's just, like I said, he's a national treasure. He just says how he feels, and you can't fault a man, and he'll debate you. And that's what I miss about the world. When him and Shaq get together, just comedy gold. Those two are just, I love it. It's the old school stuff that I enjoy.
So who are you going for in the men's bracket, Dave?
I think I picked, if I remember right, and I hate picking chalk, but I think I had McNeese in the Final Four, and they're like a 12 seed. I mean, I have a lot of shit up until the Final Four. Like a lot of just like, I expect destruction, and I'm sure I won't get it, but that's all right. And I think I've got UConn, Kentucky, Houston. And I think I picked Houston because their defense, they're just a swarming team, and from what I've watched of them, that's a tough team. They don't have, I don't think, like any superstars. It's a lot of guys playing together, and like if somebody has a hiccup, somebody's right there to pick them up. And the couple games I watched in that Big 12 tournament, man, they're up, I think, with I think 8 or 9 minutes had gone by in the first half. They were up like 14-0 on TCU. So 9 minutes without a field goal for TCU. That's another tournament team. So it's not like they're facing Potato Tech. So I think you're gonna have a lot of upsets, and if you don't, you're gonna have a lot of games that are ultra close where people are like, holy shit. I didn't
Well,
expect like Morehead State and Illinois to be a 68-65 game or something like that. But there's a lot of
after
parity. A lot of parity.
well, after what happened last year and so many number ones getting knocked out early, like by the second round, it seemed like two or three of the number ones were knocked out like into the second round, if I'm not mistaken, last year, or damn
Mhm.
near close.
Yeah.
And yes, you picked my bracket last year, and I thank you for that. There wasn't enough time for me to get it to you this time in order for you to pick it again, anyways. But that was one of the main reasons why I decided not to do it because like something's off with their ranking system. Because like when you look back on the NCAA tournament, yes, did you have some upsets? Absolutely, but not to the extent of what happened last year. Like last year, I think after the second round, like 70 something percent of everybody was out of the brackets. Like that's how fucked up it was. And the only thing that makes sense from that perspective, I'm not saying games are fixed. I'm not going that route. But something was jacked up in the rankings last year. Like teams were not ranked where they should have been. Too high, too low, whatever. I'm just hoping that's not a constant thing because like that yes, you want some upsets, you want some great games, you want some NCAA basketball like
The magic.
nostalgia, like you want that,
Yep.
but not to that extreme.
Unless you're me.
Because like when you look at the women's bracket, it's usually always ones and twos in the finals.
Yeah, it's usually chalk right through.
So, but
No, that's
anyways,
and again, I don't know how they if they just look at numbers and they just say, "Hey, this team did this team did that," and that's where we're gonna put them instead of like looking at the like watching them play. You're not even doing an eye test. You're just looking at numbers. You're not even saying, "Well, I watched them play, and that's my eye test." Some of the teams that are in, I don't know. That Michigan State being in, I much rather would have had Indiana State, who had a better year, in my opinion, in than Michigan State. But again, that's I don't know. I don't like rewarding mediocrity in the big money conferences because 95% of the time, if they're playing a team out of their at the lower end, like a MEAC, a SWAC, one of the not America East because Vermont's pretty good usually, but when you have these teams that are in different conferences that are lower rungs, they're not going to be playing the top team. It's not like Michigan State's going to next year going to tell McNeese, "Hey, we'll play you." McNeese State is 30-3. They're not going to want to play them. They're going to want to play whoever's in the bottom because that's just how it goes. So you don't have opportunities for these smaller teams that are really good in low end conferences to play Illinois, Nebraska, UCLA, Oregon, because they don't want to lose to them. So you can't bolster your resume if you're not playing these teams. And I just don't feel that's right to hold it against these teams because of that. You want to schedule them? Hey, they didn't want to schedule us. Well, what do? Well, too bad. You're fucked. Illinois beat Penn State. Penn State's got a 15-16 record. That's better than 2/3 of your league. Well, again, you can't do anything about it. And it won't change, again, as money becomes the root of all evil in major college men's sports. But that's a discussion for another day.
Yes.
So with that, thank you all for joining. Adding some banter we can play off of. Hopefully the madness of March starts to simmer down. I know 2 weeks-ish left to go. On Thursday it really ramps up, so get your brackets filled out if you got them. Flip coins, not usually with the 1 seeds until you get to like the second round again. It's happened before, could happen again. Doubtful this year, but you never know. As a wise man once said on a crane, that's why you play the games. For Vincenzo, for Steve, I'm Dave. This has been the IRP. Remember, collecting cards, absolutely wonderful hobby. The friendship you forge along the way, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.